Hello, everyone, and welcome to Snap Take. This is Glazer of Snap Judgments, the official podcast of Marvel Snap Zone. Today, we've got, as always, 3 great new decks for you to try out. We've got Darkhawk that works, we've got a top 10 deck, and then we've got a completely freaking wild mill deck. Don't miss out on that third deck. You'll be so sad if you do because it is completely insane. We're going to change up our order and our format a little bit today for you. Let us know what you think about that in the comments. We're going to start right away. We're going to jump right after the slide into our first deck. It is a YoWoodyMJ deck. Woody is a phenomenal player, lives in the top 100, and he's already figured out how the nerfed Darkhawk is still a great card and how and when to play that card. We are then going to do our giveaway and question of the day. Then we'll do the leap year bundle review. Then we're going to go to the big baby deck that KM Best recently featured. I feel like we all need to know and talk about that deck. We will then go over, I believe we have about 6 weekend mission decks to make sure that you can get through your weekend missions while having a good time with some successful decks. And then we've got EvaZord's mill deck, and I'm telling you, that deck is wild. I don't think it's the best deck in the game, but it's definitely one of the most fun. We're going to end up with shop and shoutouts. In addition, if you're curious about the OTA, yesterday afternoon's video is an OTA video, so make sure you check that out as well. Alright, YoWoodyMJ's Darkhawk Bounce lives. This deck has been ridiculously successful. Darkhawk right now is a 5-4, not a 4-0. As of my recording this, Marvel Snap Zone's cache has not updated. You can see it says March 1st on the date. It just hasn't updated the damn thing to show Darkhawk as a 5-4. Darkhawk is now a 5-4, which changes how this deck plays an awful lot. Now, you'll also note, the first thing you'll notice is that this deck runs absolutely no tech. There are 2 reasons for this. One, Spider-Ham, Iceman, Korg, Widow, and Rockslide are meant to disrupt enough of what your opponent's doing that you don't need huge deck. Yes, sometimes Hella Lovers ongoing Tribunal decks are going to go off on you, and there's nothing you can do about that with this deck. Fine, so be it. You lose those. You run for a cube. In Conquest, that might not work, but on Ladder, it definitely still does, to just say, I'm going to force you to not draw that as much as possible, and I should still be able to steal cubes from you in the process. The other reason is that the most popular deck immediately after yesterday's patch is Loki. If you haven't played on ladder, especially high ladder, Loki is everywhere. I had barely time to play because we recorded the podcast earlier, and I was seeing basically the Hella Enjoyer deck and the Loki deck, and they were like 80%, and then a bunch of discard because Proxima just came out. We're like all the decks, but Loki is so freaking common right now that giving Loki Shang-Chi, giving Loki Enchantress just straight up rocks you. It beats you with this deck, so don't give it to them. Instead, play other stuff. Alright, so Spider-Ham can be Hood. Psylocke actually ends up replacing Zabu in this list. See? Oh, this version still has Zabu. I thought I changed it. It should be Psylocke right now. We'll talk about why that is in one moment, but that Zabu should be Psylocke. Iron Lad is pretty important here. You can try Color Enchantress, but I personally think Iron Lad is great, and the reasons Iron Lad are great are, on turn 4, if you don't see Werewolf, it's an extra shot at Werewolf. If it hits Darkhawk, a 4-6 Darkhawk is better than a 5-4 Darkhawk, right? You really do want to hit a Korg, a Rockslide, a Black Widow, especially around turn 3, turn 4. It's an extra target for Zabu/Psylocke as well. So it works out really well in all these different situations. I think it's great. Cull and Enchantress are fine replacements. I don't love adding Cull because it gives a giant Shang-Chi target, and you do a reasonable job otherwise of avoiding Shang-Chi. You can find Woody on Twitch at twitch.tv/YoWoodyMJ. All right, so this won 74% of its games. 29 games, it means it went like 21-8, I believe. Yeah, exactly, 21-8 for 74% win rate. Darkhawk was huge. He was a lane winner with very little else in that lane. All games were in the top 100, which means that like a 74% win rate, even in 30 games that high up, is legit. That is straight up extremely powerful. Turn 1 is a 1. Turn 2 is Psylocke if you can ramp into a Werewolf or Lad. If not, you just play more 1s. Turn 3 is Werewolf, and the reason Psylocke is here and not Zabu at the end of the day is that Psylocke, when played later, gives you an extra Werewolf move, which can be extremely powerful. If you get your Werewolf out on turn 4, Psylocke and some other stuff, particularly Bounce on turn 5, is going to move that werewolf for you and give you extra energy to do your shenanigans on turn 6. And Darkhawk plus 2 1s on turn 6 instead of 1 is extremely, extremely powerful. This deck puts a lot of power. It really does want Darkhawk and Werewolf to win, but ultimately it has a lot of ways. It has a lot of snap equity. And again, remember Psylocke for Zebu, because hitting people with Ham, Iceman, Korg multiple times, if you can hit them 2-3 times with those cards, they don't have a lot they can do, right? You're wrecking the cards in their hand with Iceman and Spider-Ham, and then you're stopping their draws with Korg, Black Widow, and Rockslide. So all they have are these ruined, over-expensive, or hammed cards, and like a lot of people will just retreat rather than deal with that, and you get a lot of cube equity. Again, 74% win rate. This is about as good as we're going to do with Darkhawk right now, immediately after this patch. All right, we are also giving away an absolute insane amount of season passes. We are giving away a season pass in every video from 226 to 38. That 226 video was earlier this week. Please check it out. A comment and a like on that video, as long as you're subscribed, is an entry to win a season pass. Every video that you comment on has a season pass entry in it. Every single video will give away 1 season pass. So make sure you like, comment every video from this week up to next Friday, and as long as you're doing that, you are entered each and every time for 1 season pass. We're also giving away a bunch more season passes, 5 more season passes on our Twitter. You can find our Twitter at SnapJudgeCast. It's the pinned tweet. All you have to do is follow, like, retweet, and leave a comment, and there you get an extra season pass entry. So there is an absolute ton of season pass we're giving away. This is in honor of our 9,000 subs, and the reason we're doing it with likes and comments is that these sites are run on algorithms, and the algorithms really, really want to show you the big creators over and over again. We love Dexter, but it wants to show you Dexter. It wants to show you Cozy. It wants to show you Cam. It wants to show you the same people over and over again. And by liking and commenting, you're letting that algorithm know that they should show us to more people too. And we're trying to hit 10,000, and we'd really appreciate your help. We will be continuing our further giveaways. We'll do something huge for 10,000, I promise. Hopefully you hit that sub button. We bring you at least 3 brand new decks every single weekday here on this channel. We do thorough content where we cover bundles, we cover new cards, we do custom cards, we do everything you could possibly need for your Marvel Snap journey. We've got an entire guide to Marvel Snap's economy and how to maximize your spending in Marvel Snap to do your best. We've got an entire guide for pro tips with a bunch of tips that are Lambie approved for how to hit Infinite and how to climb high in Infinite. We do an absolute insane amount. We give you more Marvel Snap content and the highest quality than anyone else, and hopefully that earns your support and subscription. Questions of the day. So Drives Tort asks how to make Lady Deathstrike playable, and the answer is simple. You either make her 5 power or you make her 4 cost. I don't really want either of those. I'm fine with Lady Deathstrike being a niche card. I think it's helpful for the game to have some cards that are just fun and niche and occasionally pop in the meta. When Mobius was everywhere for a while, when Mobius and Mobius was everywhere, Destroy wanted a way to stop him, and so Deathstrike popped in the meta. Recently, KM Best threw Deathstrike into Destroy as a way to handle some other nonsense that was happening in the meta. I think that's great, right? Like, it's not a card that's always great, but it's really good when it's good. Edub asks why Captain America still stinks, and honestly, I think I know the answer. I think the answer to that is because Captain America hasn't had a movie in a while. They like holding off on buffs, especially to key cards, key characters, for when there's a movie, when there's like a TV show, when there's something happening with that character in the MCU. And, well, the Captain America movie was delayed. The 2 seasons from now, we have Avengers vs. X-Men, and then we have what I think they're calling the Thunderbolt season, but that was basically going to be the new Captain America movie season, and I would bet you that's when they had slated their Captain America buff. Is that still going to happen? Your guess is as good as mine, but that was what they were going for. I would guess anyway. I don't actually have that as a fact. That's just like my guess based on when they changed Kingpin and when they changed Captain Marvel and so on. All right, SD Don't Be Evil wants to know if any card should stay Series 4 or 5, or if everything should drop. So I think the big bads, as they are, should probably stick around where they are. I think it's actually really useful for Thanos, Galactus, and High Evolutionary, I don't care about King, to stay as Series 5 only, because they give newer players a deck that is safe to start with. I think that's an important thing to have. I honestly think that they should make some permanent Series 5 cards that when you buy them with tokens, you get an extra couple of Series 3. Like, you get their enablers when you buy them. Like, you buy Thanos and you get, well, I guess you would have gotten Lockjaw, but not anymore, right? Haha. But you get, like, whatever 2 cards that go really well with Thanos when you buy Thanos. You get whatever 2 cards that go really well with Galactus when you buy Galactus. You get whatever 2 cards go really well with Evolutionary when you buy Evolutionary. And I think that would be a great way to incentivize these as like, hey, these will never depreciate in value and you get a little bit extra if you decide to grab them. I think that would be an absolutely super cool way of going about things, and that's how I would handle those cards. I think basically everything else should drop, and I would betcha that Darkhawk going to 5/4 means that he's going to drop the next time they do series drops. Already asked about gold bundles, and funny you ask, because that's going to lead into our next question. But first, if you'd like your question read out in Sunday's video, because Saturday is the one day we don't do videos, please leave one in the comments. All right, so this is on sale for just the next day. It's the quadrennial leap year. It's 5,000 gold and 2,500 credits for $50, which is a great deal. However, huge caveat. Gold bundles value, since they stopped giving us data mines, have kind of gone in the trash. If a really strong, like there used to be 7,500 gold bundles that were excellent. We haven't had one of those in a really long time. If one of those came out, then all of a sudden this is a great deal. As is, it's hard to say if any of those are coming, so this is a okay deal. You have to make your choice based on that information. I know that's unfortunate. I know no one wants to make it blind information. I haven't decided if I'm buying this. I might buy this literally because it keeps me in variance for the next forever, right? I'll just basically be able to get variance for the next large chunk of time without ever really needing to refill my gold. Or at least without needing to refill my gold for a long time, because I don't have much else to use my gold on anymore, because the bundles aren't that great. And being able to get whatever variant I want kind of whenever I want it may be worth $50 for me. But as far as progression, if the bundles for gold aren't worth it, then you should, and you're going to spend cash, then you should spend cash not on a gold bundle, but on something like the $75 bundle that's currently in the shop that comes with much more progression value. Make sense? Cool. I hope they fix gold bundles. I'm hoping that this bundle is a sign that they're going to, but I'm not very expectant of it despite that hope. All right, Big Baby is one of the top 10 players of Marvel Snap. It seems like constantly lives there in the Infinite Leaderboard. His name is like Dr. Stink Fartson or something silly like that. This is called Blade Butt. KM Best has a full interview with Big Baby if you're interested in that. There's a version of this that, since the patch has a higher win rate than this one, it replaces Cull with Abomination. It's otherwise the same damn deck, but hey, I think Cull is probably better at higher MMR, while Abomination is better at lower MMR, where people aren't going to know what you're doing. This deck's very good and very cool. It is a Black Knight deck where you can use Black Knight to make yourself a unkillable 10 power card or an unkillable 20 power card. You can bring that back with Ghost Rider. You can also just make a 4/6, which isn't that great, and you probably won't end up playing. But if you do that, you can like often bait your opponent into snapping, especially if you've played Sentry, right? And if you do that, you can bring it back with Ghost Rider and steal cubes, because they did not bother to fill that right lane because they figured they had it won because you got your Void stuck there. But then you Ghost Rider, bring back Annihilus, and all of a sudden the game changes. All of a sudden you win. That's an extraordinarily powerful play. This deck steals and prints cubes. So Annie, Zabu, and Black Knight are required. Nico can be Iceman or Spider-Ham. Nico's obviously better, but hey, Iceman and Spider-Ham are great. Cull can be Enchantress or Abomination. Not Abomination, Giganto. And you can check out an interview with the creator of this deck at youtube.com/KMBestInASnap, at KMBestInASnap. Alright, this is a top 10 deck, top 10 player. Black Knight over Hood, generally to start. Zabu is the key turn 2 play, and then the turn 1 stuff. Turn 3, Sif or Blade for Infinite or Annihilus. You can also wait till turn 5 for that and just play something else if you'd prefer. If Zabu or Ghost Rider, if Zabu is in play or Ghost Rider's in hand, you can just drop Sentry, or you can make sure that Annihilus play is covered by having that Annihilus so you can play Ghost Rider to end the game and another card. And you can make sure that you can get Annihilus back with Ghost Rider. And those are better than the other 4s. Turn 4 is a shard, especially a 20 power shard. Snap before you play it. It wins you the game usually, especially if there's a location that's harder to interact with. Or Sentry, and those are generally better than Call. Shang hitting a Sentry means you still get the -10 on their side of the board, so that's still powerful, and you wasted their Shang, whereas Call getting Shang-Chi'd, it leaves you with nothing. So Sentry is generally better. Turn 5, Annie, or a 3 or 4 plus a 1. So if you got Zabu out, your force cost 4, you can still play your Call here with a 1. You can play a Hood and or a Demon with your Call. And then turn 6 is supposed to be 2 4s that now cost 3, because hopefully by now you've seen Zabu. So 2 4s, Ghost Rider for Annihilus to send a Void, and Hood over is completely hilarious, especially when played with like a Shang-Chi or a Call to end the game. And that's how you play the deck. It's really good. It's very fun. Quick variant talk. I can't believe we didn't do variant talk for the first one. It had so many hips. All right, we've got Zabu, Sif, Blade, Annihilus, and Infinite. So we have 5. Infinite's one of my rare golden hips. We've also got the Jacinto for the Ghost Rider and Shang-Chi here. Okay, weekend mission decks. We're going to do 2 cool Proxima decks. These aren't like the most meta Proxima, not Proxima. Why do I keep calling this card? Oh, no. I'm right. 2 cool Proxima Midnight decks. 2 Proxima decks without Corvus, because some of you got Proxima, not Corvus. 2 Black Swan decks as usual, and 1 deck with both. Now first, before we look at these decks, let's talk about Proxima Midnight. Do I think you should get that card? Unless you absolutely love to discard, no. So, the way Marvel Snap works, the way discard in particular often works for me, is that I really want a lot of power in 2 lanes. I use basically Mobius in 1 lane. Excuse me, I'm going to say this wrong every time. I use Morbius in 1 lane and Dracula in another lane, and that's fundamentally how I win games of Marvel Snap with discard. I'm not really competing in the third. The third puts a little power in it. It can get up to like 12 or 15 power, but it's not like a major way of winning. The way I'm winning is those other cards, right? I'm telling you where I'm going to compete, and I'm telling you I'm going to go over you with discard. That is how you play the deck traditionally. So why do I want Proxima, who doesn't go in either of those lanes? You see the problem, right? Like, if I'm discarding Proxima, then I've already put power into those other lanes. The Dracula lane doesn't actually need the support. Proxima ends up just sort of extra. She's good, especially in that good stuff combat list from yesterday, which is one of my favorite lists in a while. But I don't think she's a requirement even in discard. So I think she could be amazing. And I think the way she's amazing isn't her, and it's not Corvus, it's Miek, or Mikey, or Meek. That card had a spoiled potential buff of basically anytime there's a discard, it gets the power, but it also gains the Nightcrawler you choose where it moves ability. That ability lets you target Proxima effectively, and if you can target Proxima effectively with that Miek, then all of a sudden this is an amazing card that goes in a ton of decks. But as of right now, I think it's just kind of fine. Like, it's a mid card. It's a good card. It's worse than Corvus. It's worse than Cull. Probably worse than Black Swan, to be honest, now that we have a home for Black Swan that we'll talk about relatively shortly. All right, deck time. So first we have Buddy's Most Fun deck. This is our friend Buddy, who we talk about all the time on the channel. This deck didn't have a high enough win rate for me to like full feature it, but it is a ridiculously fun deck. Buddy calls it the most fun deck he's ever made. This is real simple. You discard everything. Note that you don't even have the early discard enabler, so you can just start discarding and go completely off. Obviously, you would like to hit Swarm and Helicarrier. You just get stuff like Cheap Stature, and you hella back not a giant board, but a good enough board to win the game. It's a real fun list that can win basically kind of like, the idea here is that you can kind of discard whatever you want and still be okay. And if you can kind of discard whatever you want and still be okay, then this list is completely silly strong. Moon Knight and Silver Samurai do an amazing job of wrecking your opponents. If you haven't played those 2 cards together, now seems like a really good time. Props to Buddy for this very fun list. Again, the 2 Proxima lists, we've been covering Proxima literally all week. We've covered the metaist Proxima decks already. So if you would like some meta Proxima decks, please check literally any video since she's come out. I promise you they are here. The first 2 decks are the fun ones that are like a joy to play. For example, our friend It's Just Re on Twitch. You should go check her out. She's just the most delightful human being. It's _just_re, R-I-E, is an amazing person. Just so cool, so kind, so fun. Big fan, genuinely. And she has this deck that she's been absolutely kicking all sorts of butt with. We're not sure if Proxima goes in here. That was Snowguard originally, and Snowguard has that little bit extra, like, oh, look, we have extra stuff to discard. Oh, look, we have a little location control. Oh, look, Collector gets a little bit bigger. It was just nice. This is one of the better Moon Knight decks, like Moon Knight decks around. This is another one where you don't super care what you discard. It's nice when Stature sticks around. But sometimes Corvus and Moon Knight want to hit Stature. It's fine. It's not the end of the world. You get Morbius and Collector out, they both get reasonably big, and you shred your opponent's hand, and then you have lots of ways to win. Apocalypse gets nice and big. Helicarrier gives you all sorts of stuff that helps you win the game that your opponent can predict, and it's a joy to play. Props to Ree for this really cool deck. This is, again, an absolute blast. I think you should play this. This is very likely how I'm going to fill my Corvus missions up. Next up, we have the Proxima Knight without Corvus. I wanted to show you one completely off the wall without Corvus deck. This is that deck. This is a deck basically, honestly, built to beat Hela. I don't know who built this. I'm really sorry. But basically, you go Goose in one lane, Cosmo in a lane, Storm in a lane. They can't Hela anywhere. And then you can discard sort of however you want. Proxima can hop into that Storm lane to help you win it. Kitty just gets big with Angela and Elsa. That's enough power to win a lane. Goose can go over to that Storm or that, Vision can go over that Storm or that Goose lane and still win. This is a very cool, very strong deck. Again, as long as you don't have Vision in hand, the only other 4-drop is Proxima. This beats the pants off traditional Hela decks and is 100% worth playing literally for that reason alone. Hela decks just sit there and go, oh, I can't actually play my cards. And that's a real good way to win games of Marvel Snap, don't you say? There's also this discard without Corvus list. This is a standard discard list. I don't think these lists, I'm telling you, I just don't think these lists need Proxima and Corvus. I don't think they make them that much better. I think they were good lists, and now they still are good lists with or without those cards in them. So, this is a version that runs Proxima. It's just, so you have Gambit, who's sometime going to hit Proxima. And that's it, right? And MODOK will guarantee to hit Proxima. You don't go completely off on discards with this version of the list. Gambit is here. Excuse me. Ooh, sorry, like Gambit is here largely for priority targets against things like the Tribunal ongoing decks and so on. Other than that, you just try and do the straight up I play big cards in direct places and win. And you have the extra power because Helicarrier makes Collector like a 2/7, and that's just really great stats. Next up, we have a Thanos Zoo. This is our Black Swan deck for the day. This deck has been performing really, really, really well. Like, it's got a very high win rate, like a 67% post-infinite win rate, which means it's beating real players. It's super strong. This is a super, super strong list. I think it's very, very worth checking out and worth playing. I am very excited to have a Squirrel Girl list that's good, especially a Squirrel Girl Thanos list that's good, because Lord knows those cards don't seem like they should go together. You also get the recently buffed Ant-Man as an extra bonus for this list. Ant-Man will now become a 1/5 when his lane is filled. It's an incredible card with Valkyrie, Azar Blue Marvel, Khazar, Dazzler, and the Soul Stone, and then you should just be able to win lots of games of Marvel Snap because this is a great list. Finally, oh no, not finally, we have one more Black Swan list. This is Safety's bounce list. This is the best bounce list in the game as far as I'm concerned. Although, like, we can argue that Darkhawk first list might replace it. It's close. This one's weaker to Loki, right? The real problem is this one's weaker to Loki. Loki gets your Werewolf for 3 or 2, and then it has all your 1s for 0, and then it beats you. That's just kind of that, right? There's very little you can do about that if it gets those cards. It gets your Cull as a 3 or 2/10, and you're just like, oh. It gets your Shang, and it kills your Cull and your Werewolf. So if Loki is around, the other deck is better. If Loki is not around, this deck is better. This one has the Demon. It's the other main difference besides the tech cards. The Demon gives you an extra way to have a bunch of power on the board and a way to throw priority sometimes. So that's nice. I think this list is really strong. This is one of my favorite decks in Marvel Snap. Finally, we have Woodward's 15k rank Zoo. So this usually runs Bishop in that Proxima spot. I threw Proxima in because this is a great way to get both Proxima and Black Swan into a deck. Basically, what you want to do is you want to go Strong Guy into Khazar into Black Swan. you'll play Sunspot on 1 or 2, but outside of that, you never play another one early unless you're electroing off a Black Knight. You go Strong Guy or Bishop, if Bishop is in your particular version, Khazar into Black Swan, and then you play all the ones you can, and Hit Monkey. It should be relatively easy to throw priority if you're at all good at throwing priority, because you play very little power early. As such, you are safe from Killmonger. Alioth is a danger, but you are safe from Killmonger, and you're safe from sending Titania over to the opponent's side. Just make sure she's the last card you play in her lane, and she'll never get sent over. Obviously, please never play her in a lane with Electra, because if Electra makes space and you accidentally mess up, whatever. The other thing to do here is you want to 0 Martyr where possible, or just play 0 less. Blade here can hit Proxima, and there's generally very little space left on the board, and that's just a free extra 7 power at the end of the game. Yes, you have to see Blade for it, and that makes it a little frustrating, but hey, that's still pretty powerful, right? Like, you're not terribly upset to get a free 4/7, and it's a great way to play Black Swan with Proxima. I've been playing this list with Bishop a lot. It's been my most successful list. It's got like a 70% win rate in a lot of games since the patch we covered at the start of the week. It was strong in the hell of Thanos, much stronger meta than this, and it's even better now. All right, our final deck is our mill deck for the day. Ava sent this deck. This deck beats the crap out of Hela and ongoing tribunal decks by like a lot. It takes away its key pieces really well. Dr. Octopus wrecks their face. Shang-Chi says, let's do that thing if they bother to get tall on you. Wong into Yondu, Wong into Gladiator are just backbreaking for them. They can't do anything about that. Someone tagged me in another version of this. Ava sent me this deck a couple days ago. Someone tagged me in another version of this that didn't run Null and instead ran Black Widow. Sure, why the hell not? If that makes you happy. I think I have Null as an irreplaceable, but hey, someone else has success with that being Black Widow, so go for it. Spider-Ham can be Iceman here without losing a massive amount. Spider-Ham's pretty good because you're getting rid of their deck, and Spider-Ham lets you get rid of their hand. This needs Zabu, Iron Lad, Null, and Gladiator, although again, apparently it does not need Null. Gladiator is a mill card, so it's not negotiable. Iron Lad operates as a way to get an important piece out, and Zabu is just incredible at this number 4s. I think the 2 season pass card is Baron Zemo, who's a 4/6, who takes the lowest cost card in your opponent's deck and puts it on your side of the board, will be an absolutely hilarious card in this deck, and you can find Ava playing this. Ava speaks Portuguese. Ava's a Brazilian player at twitch.tv/EvaZord. Ava is brilliant and in the top like 20 of Marvel Snap again after like falling into the hundreds by taking a bunch of time off because Ava's brilliant at the game. All right, so turn 1 Ham, usually not Yanzu, especially if you have Zabu in hand. Turn 2 Zabu. Turn 3 Wong, if you can, is better than Gladiator, is better than Cable and Lad. If you Wong, you want to get Yondu on that and just start eating up their deck. If you go Yondu into Absorbing Man, you can eat their deck right there on turn 4. Excuse me, same thing is true of Yondu into Gladiator on turn 4. If not, you can play Wong, and then you can Yondu in one lane and Absorb Man in another lane on turn 5, and that will also eat their deck, or Yondu in one lane and Gladiator in another lane. They now have no deck. If you've managed to get that Ham out, they've lost 1 card too. Hopefully you've done enough of that killing stuff, largely with Yondu and Gladiator, to get yourself either a big old Null or a really cheap death for your last turn, but you can also mess things up with Dr. Octopus. The way this often beats Destroy decks, and Destroy is hard, right? But the way this often beats Destroy decks is you use Dr. Octopus and you pull down a bunch of cards, and Destroy needs all its stuff to happen in really specific order, and you can stop that in its tracks. Quick variant talk, we got Spider-Ham, Yondu, Zabu, Gladiator, Wong, Absorbing Man, Iron Lad, and Null, so an 8-hit deck. Beautiful. We've got the Nullified Shang-Chi because Null is in the deck, so they might as well be buddies. I really need that hip cable. Hopefully it shows up. And Superior Spider-Man, Darkhawk, is one of my favorite variants in Marvel Snap, so I'm happy to have that here as well. All right. My shop was cool today. I got the Archer Room Takeover like everyone else. I bought the Loki, and I'm going to tell you straight up. I don't know if you know Tucker, TUCCRR. He's a streamer and YouTuber. He does custom challenges on his Twitch stream, and a lot of the times the custom challenge involves only female characters, and now I've got a female Loki, so I can play it. That's honestly why I bought that. This is the only Archer I own. Also, Twitch drops are ongoing this week. If you didn't know, you can watch a Twitch streamer for X amount of time, even if you're not at your computer for X amount of time, and get some free stuff as long as you've connected Twitch to Marvel Snap, and there's instructions on every stream for how to do that. I strongly urge you to support some smaller streamers if you want to do that. My Twitch drop was this Vulture, who just got buffed yesterday, and is in that really cool Shuri Enjoyer deck from yesterday, so I expect to play that an awful lot. All right, certain tiers of support on our Patreon come with on-air thanks. We've got Abigail Giesland, Mandatory Burnout, Cables, DG Wingfield, Direwolf, LAB, Fother Newman, Good Dog Gamer, Inc., Jane Every, JD McDonaldino, Aquila Placino, Caretix Lee, Coy Ray, Doku, Philip Bratkovich, Haplo, Kenny Loggins, Rob Silverman, Robert River, The Bizza, J Bussy, X-Force V, Skippy G, Tommy Nyquist, Black Dahlia, The Great Kazoo, Models, Louis Antunes, Matt Conduit, Matt H, Mikey Hijinks, Snowflex, Ocularis, Pretty Chill, Seamus, Bike Jones, Two Ties, the aforementioned Pirate King Tucker, The Homie Min, and of course, as always, Gunny T. All right, that ends today's episode. Hopefully you didn't click off, because Sunday, the Johnson Cup finalists are all my homies. Both teams are my friends, and they've told me I will exclusively have the best decks from the best players in one of the most professional tournaments there is. The only place you can get it is here on Snap Judgments in Snap Take. See you then. Peace.